In this video, I am going to demonstrate using Python, Flask, WT-Forms. We're going to be continuing our example of this Five Guys example, and we're going to add what's called a select multiple field, sort of a multi-select. So we had the radio buttons before for choosing the burger and for choosing the cook level and deciding whether or not you wanted fries, but we're going to add some toppings. And so I want a cheeseburger, medium well, and I want onions and mushrooms and barbecue sauce. I'm going to say, and in a multiple select, the user, you select one thing, but if you want to choose multiple things, you work. And if I wanted to say deselect it, or if I want to select another thing, so it works like a normal select unless you're holding down control. And so now I chose mayonnaise, onions, and they don't have to be consecutive. I'll choose mayonnaise, mushrooms, and barbecue sauce. But I'm doing that, treating it as a multi-select rather than as just a pure select where I choose one by holding down control if I'm at a computer. And yes, I want fries. And so that is this new thing in this one, the multiple select. That's what we're focusing on in this example. And let's just have a peek behind. Here is the toppings. It's a select, but it says in here multiple, and its name is toppings, and then there are open options and close options. Okay. So here is the app, which for me is the Flask and controls the routes. And we're going to have this app form, this route form, the forms, which is going to be the WTF, which is going to say, here are my choices for the various things and how I want it handled. There's a HTML page for the form and HTML page for the handler. They're both in templates. They both share a simple layout and a style. And here are my terminal commands I use to start it up. I've done that. You saw that it was already running. So basically, this page hasn't changed much from before. There is the default route, which is redirected. There is the form route. Here I'm going over to the WTF Python, then sets up the class, the FG_form. And I'm doing some validation, especially with the radio buttons, insisting that they chose one of the choices of the radio buttons. So there's no new validation. This is the old validation of the radio button groups. Go over to the handler or go over to the page. So that is the route, not really any different than the previous route. Here is the form. This is new. I'm bringing in the select multiple field. Here's choosing the burger, which is a radio field with a set of choices. Here is the level, which is a radio field. Rare, medium rare, etc. are the choices. And again, these are input required. Here is the fries. Now the order here, it doesn't matter. It matters when the order that the user sees is the order that is in the HTML, not the order that we see here in terms of things listed. Sometimes I have to choose the same order, but I don't have to. Here's the new stuff, the toppings. So this is a select multiple field that was producing this, the multi-select. It has a label, and it has a set of choices. And as usual, there's it's a list of tuples, and each tuple has two things, and one is what you work with behind the scenes, and the other one is what the user sees. And in this case of toppings, they're the same. I'm not going to charge for toppings. Up here for the burgers, it was, and for the fries, it was different because I wanted not only the answer, but I wanted something to do with price, same thing to do with the burgers. But for the cook levels and for the toppings, the two, what you show and what you work with behind the scenes, I chose to be the same. They don't have to be the same, they can be the same. Here's the submit button. What else I need to show you? I want to show you the templates. This is Five Guys with select field, the form. Let me do the form first. So it extends the layout. It's got the form action as post, the CSRF underscore token. Here is the burgers, which was the radio field. Here is the level, which was the radio field. Here are the toppings. And so you're not making much distinction here between showing me radio buttons and showing toppings. All that work is done by Python, by Flask, by WTF. So we don't have to worry about it. So we just say, I want the toppings label, and then I want the toppings. I have, there's not really, I just sort of like copying and pasting this and switching it to toppings. There was no real error for the for this multiple select, because they don't have to choose any, or they can choose some. So that's it. So there's not really an error that can arise here, but just sort of copying things from other sections, I ended up with this error. And my errors usually don't show up anyway, because my errors are straightforward and standard enough that the browser's handling them, and you see the browser's message anyway. Here's the fries. Here's the submit button. So that was the select, and then the form handler. Splitting the burger name from the burger price. We've seen that before. Where is the new part, the toppings? Okay. So the toppings, this is one of the parts that's different, because what the select multiple field gives you, or what it ends up to be in HTML, the select with the multiple attribute, that's going to give you a list behind the scenes. So it's not going to be a single value, it's going to be a list. And so here's a place where some differences occur. So I have results is all the information from that the user sent over through the route over to, from the form to the handler through the route, and that's results. And then I have a method to get a list of things and toppings. So the other things, like say for the level, it's results square bracket level done. Here I'm working result under square bracket burger, and I'm working, it has multiple parts, so I'm splitting it. But now what I'm getting over from toppings is a list. So I work with the get list method. So result.getList toppings. Now I have a list that I can loop over. Top is my just sort of dummy name within the looping, so the iteration. So I could call it item, I could call it anything. Toppings has to match what came over. I need to announce that it's a list. Result was the name that I sent over. I have to work with it as a list. Toppings was the name of said list, but top is just a name I made up here in Jinja. And then I'm displaying them, and I'm doing a for loop, and then my break is sort of after the for loop. So all of my choices, let me do mustard and ketchup and mustard and mayonnaise, and maybe I have something else in there. They're all on one line. If I wanted them on multiple lines, I could have put the break inside the for loop, and then each one would have been on its own line. But that is the new part, the multiple select. So there was not much change in the routes. There was a change in the form, of course, to say I wanted a multiple, select a multiple field. It is similar in terms of setting it up, that you have a list of choices is a list of tuples. In terms of the form, it's not much different. I just say I want to have such a thing. And then the handler gets some changes, because what we get from the handler is a list. So we have to, our Jinja uh, is different because we're receiving a list. Okay, that's what I wanted to show you. Thanks so much for your attention.